Greetings and salutations, YouTube. This is your friendly neighborhood armchair philosopher, Fragments of Memory. Lately, I've been viewing with keen interest the so-called black sector of YouTube. You've probably seen some of my videos, just me sprinkling my little commentary here and there. Especially those channels dealing with the interactions between the sexes. Now, from the men's point of view, I've been watching YouTubers such as Obsidian Radio Network, Alpha Male Wisdom, Sergeant Willie P, The Angry Man, and Mr. Monstrosity, or Styles, or Network TV. Also, shout out to Black Privileged. Black Privileged, that's funny. Alrighty. And from the women's perspective, Crystal and Karazin, Simone 5'6", and Breukelen Bleu. Now, Breukelen Bleu has been doing a series of videos telling black women that no one is coming to save them, that they must save themselves. Now, she also accuses black men of having a visceral hatred of black women. Now, in the first point, I would agree that women do need to exercise their autonomy. No question about it. And of course, I would like to add that too many of us are waiting for Superman to come save us regardless of gender or sex. Now, in the second point, I would respectfully disagree. Now, for a great deal of my life, I've been taught that I was to have the highest respect for all women, whether explicitly or implicitly. Explicitly by my mother, it starts with, you don't fight a girl. Even if she's being rude, even if she's being disrespectful, you don't fight a girl. You don't put your hands on a woman. So I was taught that. I was taught to hold the door open for women. I was taught to walk on the outside of the woman when we walk down the street. But obviously respect goes more so than that. I was also taught, a woman can be just as intelligent as a man. I was taught those things growing up. Now, mind you, I was born in 1980, so many TV sitcoms, many drama programs on television often would talk about the battle of the sexes and how women need to be treated equally, etc., etc. And it was up to men to not have the chauvinistic attitudes towards women. And I can grow up remembering TV shows and remembering things such as Male Chauvinist Pig. And so when I look at Breukelen Bleu saying that black men have a visceral hatred of black women, I respectfully disagree. And I know I've said that, but I want to go back to the fact that Tupac Shakur, though he was on some foolishness, he did do a song called Dear Mama. And in the black community, or the black collective, many black men collectively love their mothers. Even if the mother was not a good person. In the black collective, let me put it to you this way. I can say something bad about your father in the black collective. I can't say something bad about your mother, whether true or not true. Those are fighting words. Just a yo mama would elicit a beat down in a minute, as I remember growing up. So when she spoke on that, I'm like, well, how can that be? Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think there is misogyny in the black collective? Do I think that there is the disrespect of black women collectively? Yes. However, the way Breukelen Bleu puts it, black men are just gonna cannibalize on black women, and we're just these horrible demonic beings. And I took umbrage with that, because for most of my life I've been told men are these oppressive, demonic, raping and pillaging beings, and I'm going, well, I've not seen that. Now, in one of her videos, she talks about the on-point brother, the brother that got his degree, the brother that went to college, and he's now having a really good job, paying him very well. And one of the things she says is that they're arrogant and entitled. Well, I'm not down for arrogance, but I'm sure that those on-point brothers probably got that message. As I remember being a young boy in the 80s and even in the 90s, go to school, Get a good education so you can get a good job. That is what I was taught most of my life. That was pounded and drilled and beat into my skull as a child. Go to school, get a good education, get a good job. Go to school, get a good education, get a good job. You get the drift. So that's something I was taught at a very young age. Remember the commercials of the United Negro College Fund? A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I was one of those guys that was taught, hey, go to college. Oh yeah, don't do drugs. Don't join gangs. Say no to drugs. I'm in that generation where we had the Say No to Drugs campaign that's spearheaded by First Lady Nancy Reagan, if you remember. I can remember every sitcom I watched, every cartoon I watched. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Cocaine, the big lie. Crack is whack. Drugs are for suckers. I remember all of that growing up as a young man. We had DARE in school. Before that, the school counselor would come in and teach us about the dangers of drugs. So I can remember all the propaganda, all the teachings, all the indoctrination. And I can remember all of this. So, and I'm sure those On Point brothers got the same messages. So then they were taught, hey, let me stay away from this. Let me do this. And even the women in our lives, I'm sure the women in our lives said, hey, don't be that guy. Don't be the womanizer. Don't be the guy running up through women. Don't be the guy who just uses women as sexual objects. Don't be that guy. Oh yeah, don't be the D-boy. Don't be the gangbanger. Don't be the thug. And of course, not only do the women in my life, whether mom, sister, church, girls at church, even girls in school, would complain about these guys. Not saying my mother specifically, but in general. I was taught, don't be that type of guy. But then the very girls that were telling me, and women that were telling me, don't be that type of guy, were going after those types of guys. They were having sex with those type of guys. They were getting pregnant by those type of guys. Yet I was being constantly taught, don't be that guy. So I can somewhat understand what even that On Point, because I'm not an On Point brother. I got a long ways to go. But those brothers were taught that all their lives. So then the very thing they're taught has been negated by experience. And another thing is, I'm one of the people that believe no one is entitled to give you anything, or I'm not entitled to receive anything from you. Oh yeah, that's another thing I was taught, that no woman owes you sex. Even if you pay for her dinner and take her to the movies, or you pay her way in a concert, she does not owe you sex. And you are correct. And that's the message a lot of us got. So I don't necessarily see the hatred of black women viscerally. On the contrary, I've seen and been in situations where I took the scorn, the shame, the mockery, the derision, while the black woman in the situation got pardoned, got a free pass, got, if not praised, we looked the other way because she was a woman. And we're to have the best respect for women. Now, I get that misogyny is out here. I get that there is the disrespect and the belittling of a woman's feelings, and I don't think that's the intent of my video. But I think that I just really had a hard time swallowing some of the things she was saying. It's sort of like Simone 5'6" saying, oh, black women are championing black men and black men aren't doing the same for black women. And I say, in my experience, I can't speak to yours obviously, but in my experience, I've seen too many black men, or not too many, but so many black men championing the sisters, backing the sisters up, even if she's wrong, even if she's a messed up individual. I've had brothers championing these sisters, and they say, hey brother, don't be so hard on that sister, give that sister a chance. So that's what I was taught. So the things you say here, and another thing, she talks about patriarchy, as in the black community wants to be these patriarchal. No, I have to side with Sergeant Willie P on this, even though I find him to be a little elitist and classist. And I've said this in another video. Sergeant Willie P accurately points out we're a matriarchy. I can tell you so many times I've had female teachers, female bosses, and there were so many situations growing up that I have a younger sister, younger by 10 months, but neither here nor there. But anyway, I have a younger sister, and usually when my mom would run errands, she'd take us along somewhere. And if we ended up visiting a friend of hers house, or maybe my godmother or whatever, I was always in a situation where I was surrounded by nothing but women. Back to what Brad Pitt said, we're a generation of men raised by women. He said that in the movie Fight Club. His character, Tyler Durden. But anyway, so I never saw the oppression of women as far as on that level. Not denying that it exists. But I found I was always told and taught to value the woman regardless of how she gets down. Whether she gets down good or whether she gets down foul. I've always been presented with the convention of the woman can do no wrong and men can do no right. In fact, some of the language in our culture lends to that. Women's faults are many and men's are only two. Everything they say and everything they do. Now imagine if I had said that in reverse. Imagine how that would be received. And we already know the answer to that. Men are dogs. Excuse my language. Niggas ain't shit. What else? Even with our sitcoms, men are always depicted as the abusers. Men are always depicted as idiots. Men are always depicted slow on the uptake. Men are always depicted as basically being these horrible monsters. So I would say, yes, there's a lot of attack on womanhood, but I think there's also just as much anti-male bias in our media, and media is a powerful tool, and it affects us very psychologically, or it affects us psychologically, and it colors and seasons how we perceive the world around us. And usually with black movies, I often find that black men are just thrown under the bus. We either gangsters, we either thugs, or we're just completely emasculated. But I guess Breukelen Bleu wouldn't see it that way. Well, that's my 2 cents. Peace, rate, subscribe, leave your feedback. Let me know what's on your mind. Peace.